Allegations tonight of wage theft, with workers out of pocket to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. The Migrant Workers Association says at least 3 workers at Bottle franchises operated by Ravinder Arora in Auckland and the South Island have been paid substantially below the minimum wage for up to 4 years. And in some cases, it's claimed that Mr Arora demanded the workers pay him cash. In one case, it's alleged a worker put in 84 hours in a week but was only paid for 32, meaning their actual pay was $7 an hour, half the legal minimum wage at the time. In another example, it's claimed that Ravinder Arora paid workers correctly and according to their pay slips, but would then demand the employees refund him thousands of dollars in cash, again leaving their pay packet light. At the time, the migrant workers' visas tied them specifically to Mr Arora's businesses. The Labour Inspectorate has confirmed to Checkpoint that it is, quote, currently progressing proactive investigations into Mr Arora's nickel Himalaya companies. Meanwhile, Anu Kalotti of the Migrant Workers Association says the employees that she's working with felt vulnerable and were scared to speak out.
It's because their visas are attached to this employer, so that is the threat that is used against them, that if you do not pay up, or if you do not do the extra hours, or if you do not work without any rest breaks or meal breaks, we will inform immigration and get your visa cancelled, and next thing you know, you'll be deported. So that's the commonplace scenario and the situation in this case as well. And then, most migrant workers who come here, they have a dream of being able to settle here permanently, and that dream isn't just something they've dreamt up on their own. It is sold to them through a lot of the government websites, through the Immigration New Zealand website. So that is their ultimate goal, to get that residence. So they are relying on the employers to achieve that goal. So that's what is in their forefront of their mind, that they'll do anything to not compromise their dream, so that they'll put up with anything, any form of exploitation, to make sure that they don't jeopardize their chances of getting that next work visa or getting permanent residence.
So Anu, the 3 workers that you are helping at the moment, were all of their visas tied to this particular business? They had to work for this business?
Yes, that's correct.
Because the other thing I noticed is that one of the workers, during the time that he was with this business, he got his essential skills work visa. So in order to get that, he needed to make a certain amount of money, didn't he?
Yes,
he needed to reach
right, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So the question is, well, was he complicit in this alleged rort? Because he obviously wanted on paper his pay to read a certain amount in order to get his visa. So arguably he's gone along with it to obtain a visa which he wouldn't really be entitled to if he was honest about the hours and the money he was getting.
Right. So these workers, they don't just want that amount of salary on paper. We would want them to be paid that amount of salary in real practice as well. Yes, it could be argued that the workers are complicit, but then the employment law does make a provision that you have to look at the balance of power here. The employers hold all power in this relationship, so the workers are the most vulnerable in this situation and have very little power. So that's why they end up in these situations that are really unfortunate and shouldn't really be happening.
How much money do you think these workers are owed?
It's 3 workers worked there for different periods of time. So each one of them has a slightly different claim in terms of dollars, but we're looking at least tens of thousands of dollars put together between these 3 workers. We have been doing calculations. So we have sent all of our figures to the employer. So unfortunately, it's just not been reciprocated, or we've not had any engagement from the other side.
What evidence do you have, Anu, besides these workers' testimony, their word? Do you have any hard evidence?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we have cases where fellow workers who worked alongside are witnesses that these workers did actually work those hours. For example, the same worker is opening the shop and then closing the shop at the end of the day. And these are liquor stores we're talking about, which easily open 10, 11, sometimes 12 hours a day. So we've got colleagues who are witnesses. And then we've also got audio recordings where a conversation between one of the workers and the employer about the hourly rate and how the employer is not able to afford the pay rate that their visa demands, so they're asking for amounts back, and they're also referring to X $1,000 that have already been returned by the worker, and then this is how much you owe me, and this is how much more you need to give me by a certain date. So we've got evidences of that form. So
you've got that in recorded form? Someone has recorded these conversations?
Yes, that's right.
So how has Mr Arora responded to your request for mediation and to settle these wage claims?
Initially, when he was approached, he settled to pay just 1 year's worth of annual leave. Although all three workers have worked more than 1 year. One of them's been with him 3+ years. So that was the only settlement they've had. And then further to that, we approached for next session of talks and mediation directly. We were told that these workers are not owed anymore. So then we took the next logical step of going through the Labour Inspectorate mediation services and put a request in, and we did not get any response at all.
From Mr Arora? So Mr Arora has not responded at all to your request for mediation through the Labour Inspectorate?
Yes, that's correct. So it wasn't just our direct request, it was a request from mediation services at MB that Mr Arora has ignored.
Now, RNZ has made repeated attempts to contact Ravinder Arora. He hung up on our producer after telling her to contact his lawyer, but refused to provide details of who that is. We have left several messages requesting those details. I went to visit 2 of his Auckland businesses today. Staff said he was not on site, but 2 employees told me they were paid fairly and above the minimum wage. Hi there, my name's Lisa Owen. I'm from Radio New Zealand. Is Ravi here? Okay. Are you expecting him back today? No. You're not? Are you a student or?
I am the manager.
Oh, you're the manager of the store. Have you had any problems with him paying you? Is he paying you the minimum wage?
All good.
Yeah?
I'm getting all right payments.
You are?
Yeah.
Are you working long hours, or how many hours do you work a week?
35.
Do you just work 35 hours?
Yeah.
Sure about that?
Yeah, I have everything, the proofs, my timesheets, everything. I work 35 hours as a manager.
As a manager, and he pays you manager's rates? Has he ever asked you to give him cash back?
No, I don't think so anybody's entitled to doing that.
Yeah, but he's never asked you?
No.
Do you know if he's asked any of the other workers for cash back?
No.
Is Ravinder here?
No.
Whereabouts is he?
Don't know.
I'm just wondering, are you paid the minimum wage or?
Yeah, we're paying pretty well.
You pay, yeah, fair? He's never asked you to, has he ever asked you to give cash back from your wages to him?
Never ever.
Never?
Never.
How long have you worked here for?
It's been more than 2.5 years.
Yeah. Does he pay you above the minimum wage?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Ever had any problems with him paying?
Sorry, I won't.
Because he's been in trouble before, hasn't he, for pay?
No comments on that, sorry.
Yeah? So the roller door coming down was the end of that conversation. In a previous investigation in July 2014, the Labour Inspectorate issued an enforceable undertaking to Ravinder Kumar Arora in relation to 8 of his companies. That was for failings in employment agreements, record keeping and provision of holiday and leave entitlements. Now that resulted in him being ordered to pay $30,000 in arrears to his employees.